We're here back at the,
back in the studio.
Back at the ranch.
And
the Body Ranch.
Yes, the Body Ranch. And that's why we drink. We never actually say the title of our show.
Yeah, this is the first time we've ever tried to start an episode by actually starting the episode and not just awkwardly having a mid-conversation.
Right.
But anyway,
we assume that everyone has found our show by accident, and we have to say the name of our show just to make sure people know where they are.
It's a really fair point.
Well, we have, as you can tell, we have some guests with us this time around.
Some special guests that a lot of people have been waiting for. So, Wine and Crime, introduce yourselves.
Woohoo! What up? Yeah, we are the gals from Wine and Crime. I'm Kenyon.
I'm Lucy.
I'm Amanda.
And we're doing this.
We're here.
Congratulations. No.
We're here on And That's Why We Drink.
The end.
And we are special guests.
Half in the bag. We just recorded a crossover with these beauties, so
That's right.
We're ready to go into round 2.
Yeah, we are like on top of our game right now. Just did an episode. If you guys want to hear the first half of this lovely morning day, please go.
Yeah, we are spending the whole day together.
The whole day.
Gonna hate us.
Listen, I broke out the wine at 10 a.m. for these gals, so, that's when it's something special.
And I think we lucked out because we're doing our episode second, which means that everyone's good and tipsy now.
Yeah.
So everyone's all loosey-goosey. And
Expectations are low.
And I'm Lucy.
Life is good. Yeah, Lucy is loosey-goosey. It's all good.
I'm going to start unabashedly hitting on M now. M. Night Shyamalan twist.
Get the party started.
Sorry. Let's alert both of our significant others.
so like we just said, a lot of people have been looking for this to happen for a long, long time, but everyone's time zones are just totally messed up. We have not been able to make it work for like a year
Kenyon.
now. So
we got our South African guest here, our international speaker.
South
Our
Africa
Sangoma.
to LA. So shocker, not great.
Not easy.
Not a great time difference.
So we finally made it
Basically
happen.
800 hours apart.
Yes, it seems
That's
so.
just science.
Yes.
So usually
4 days apart.
what we do to start off the show is we talk about why we're drinking this week.
Yes.
Does anyone have it could be positive or negative. It's always funnier when it's negative. But does anyone have anything they want to shout out?
I am drinking this week because adulting is just being excited about having ingrown toenail surgery.
Yeah, that happened.
So that's why I'm drinking.
That's like a very legitimate reason.
I've had two
Yeah.
ingrown toenail surgeries, one on each
God
big
bless.
toe. And fun fact and disgusting fact for everyone, my toenails have never grown the same way. So
Yes.
Yeah.
that'll be fun for you to experience.
My language.
I can't wait.
Good luck to you
I don't
on
care
that.
how nasty these babies look later on. As long as I never have another ingrown toenail, I will be praising the heavens.
That must be
because
like super painful,
It's
right?
the worst. It's
it
the worst.
sucks.
It sucks.
Like if you
mean,
accidentally stub your
knowing-
toe, you feel like a nail went into your toe, like a toenail, if you will.
Oh my God.
I think knowing that M is an ex-clown with 2 nasty big toenails has like escalated my attraction through
it's happening.
I mean, I don't have like beast toes. I just like they just look like they look like they went to jail for a little and came out changed.
Yeah, I like my SOs to be good and weird and a little nasty.
Your toes have been ridden hard and put away wet.
Check it out.
They have a life to. They have a story to tell. Each of them separately.
They've lived.
Scars
They've
are
lived a
always
life.
attractive.
Well,
Yeah.
my reason for drinking this week is similar to the approach of middle age.
Oh,
it's
boy.
because I was in bed at like 8:30 last night, didn't even have time to drink on a Saturday night. So now I'm drinking on a Sunday morning.
I mean,
Making
sometimes
up
you just
for
gotta
it.
make up for it in your own special
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did drink last night, and I'm also drinking on a Sunday morning. So
Surprise!
I also
we'll have this conversation later, Em.
can
Christine,
sit with us. We
did-
don't give a fuck how much you drink.
I really to be fair, like Christine is not like a total lush. Like I really like hype it up for the show, and she's just a good sport about it. I'm sure a lot of people are like wondering if we need to put her in AA.
It's actually my parents get like a little bit worried when they just sometimes occasionally tune in and they're like, did we do something wrong? I'm like, yes, but you don't have to worry about me. It's fine.
Meanwhile, I'll be blackout drunk on an episode and my mom doesn't bat an eye. That's my daughter.
That's the one.
My mom knows she went wrong when I just refuse to drink alcohol because I'm just so afraid of what it will do to me.
Yes, that's when you know you really fucked up, man.
It's like, it's one thing to ruin your child
judgy
to a point where
move.
they're drinking, but it's another to ruin them to, like, they don't even want to try it.
they're
She
scared
swings
of it.
the other way.
Yikes. Good point. So that's why you're not drinking this week.
No,
Yeah.
I'm drinking this week because I, after this, have to work today.
What? Why?
Oh, what?
It's everyone's going to tell me that, like, I don't get to complain because it's the best job in the world, but, like, I have to go see a movie for work today.
It's still work.
Which movie?
What movie?
A Quiet Place.
Oh, lucky.
Well, because we worked on the movie, and so we have to go see it so we can do a report on it. And so I have to, I get my ticket gets paid and everything, so I guess I can't complain.
Yeah, your face right now looks like
Did
you're
you-
not too upset about it.
Did you make all the trumpets, all the maracas, all the accordions?
Oh, yeah, all the things
In
that
that
they
movie?
definitely used in
Yeah.
A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
A quiet
Yeah. The
place.
saxophones. Yeah.
I clearly am not thinking of the same movie.
Yeah.
M played
Fireworks,
one of
all
the
of it,
aliens.
Yeah.
What is happening?
Well, I'm drinking because after this, I have to go to a tax appointment because now I'm an adult. And Blaze was
Heard
like,
that.
by the way, don't forget about our tax appointment on Sunday. And I was like, or what?
Allison
Pardon?
came home after hanging out with you and your I was gonna say your brother, but Blaze is not your brother. Whoops.
Whoa.
Oh, ew.
Not with that attitude, he's not.
But Allison came home from hanging out with you guys, and she was like, "They're real adults. Like, they're talking about taxes over there," and I just wanted to go. It was too much.
Talking about taxes means
had to get
Blaze is
out.
like, what does this mean that you wrote down on this paper? And I just start crying and I'm like, I don't know. Call my mom. She knows. That's talking about
That's
taxes.
how adults talk about taxes.
That's what I do. I don't
Call
really
my mom.
understand.
I
Anyway.
call Kenyon's mom.
I wrote off that I have a home office because of this podcast, but
Yep.
also I don't pay rent.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. I wrote off our this room too. I had to
Yeah, I wrote
measure
off
it
mine.
with a tape measure.
Yeah.
I
I
measured
know.
mine with a tape measure.
It's crazy.
I filed for a tax extension, and that's all I've done so far.
That sounds pretty good to me. I don't even know what that means.
I'm
Super easy to do.
I'm lucky because my stepdad is my tax guy.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, that's nice.
Good.
Yep.
Lucy's
Can he be
mom,
my
or
mold
Kenyon's
guy?
mom.
Yeah, we all need Tom to be our tax guy now.
Okay, good.
Our mold guy. I'm drinking because I had to put my dog down this week.
Oh,
That's a real reason.
Nothing
Jeez,
else
sorry, it's why
matters
I'm
except
drinking.
your reason.
I know.
Can you tell us a funny story about him?
Oh my
so
God. Yes.
many funny stories.
Yeah, let's hear about him.
Well, so this was my sweet baby boy Burke. He had pulmonary hypertension and took low doses of Viagra every day. He liked to rock a bow tie. He was everybody's friend. And he was a sex maniac, sex addict, if you will, but only under very specific circumstances. So he used to live in a foster situation, so there'd be other dogs coming through all the time.
Right.
And there was one particular beauty. Her name was Penny.
Smitten.
Penny.
And she was an unfixed Jack Russell Terrier.
Oh my.
All
What a
woman.
slut.
Oh,
No. She was wholesome and beautiful, and Burke just could not stay out of her.
I mean, to be
at all.
Oh.
Yeah, and you know what? She was enjoying it. Like, this was not a one-sided situation. It was consensual. And beautiful.
Consensual.
And one day she had her appointment to be fixed, and they went in, they took out all the necessary equipment, they patched her up, they sent her back home, and Burke sauntered up to her, accepting to receive her back with equal vigor and excitement. took one sniff of her downstairs, made a face like a disgusted face, walked away, never had sex with her again.
Oh, Penny! He just smelled rejection.
Penny had been tainted at that point, and he was no longer interested. Even though he was fixed, it's not like there was possibility of fertility.
But he didn't know that. He didn't remember.
He didn't know. So
Poor baby.
that was Burke. He was a real special guy.
I mean, to be fair, you were feeding him Viagra, so
It's not his fault that Viagra was originally made for pulmonary hypertension.
that's a good
It's
point.
just the way it is.
Just a side
Low
effect. It's
doses.
okay.
Yeah, one time his teeth, he was so smelly. He was the smelliest boy in the world. One of his teeth just fell out in my bed once.
Oh my god.
And he just didn't even care. He was just like rotting. Yeah, this boy was dying long before.
He was very old.
Did you keep the tooth?
No, I...
Lucy.
It's
Yeah,
on
I
a
did
necklace
threw it
around
away.
her neck.
That was my next question. What kind of jewelry did you make from it?
None.
My mom actually, we were out to lunch one time and we were eating soup, which is
God.
like the least chewy food on earth.
It's the definition of not chewy.
Peas
And
soup.
she, out of nowhere, is like, something's in my mouth. And she pulled out her tooth. And I was like, what the? And she shrugged it off and just put it on the napkin and kept eating her soup. And I was like, I have so many fucking questions. And she was like, that just happens. And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
You reach a point in your life where your teeth just start falling into your soup.
If it were like an apple, I could have almost blamed it on that. But I was like, you're eating soup.
No.
This is the least opportune
This
time.
is what's
Go to the
Sneezed
dentist.
and it would have
Oh
come
my god.
I found out later that it wasn't her tooth, although we both thought it was her tooth because it
was
was
it?
Someone
the
else's
crown
tooth?
on top of her
It was
tooth.
someone else's
like a-
tooth?
It's like the
I was really worried for a minute. I was
tooth.
like, this sounds like it could be worse.
Well, for
but-
her to say like, "Oh, that just happens," I was like, "Do your teeth just fall out and you just walk on through life like that's not a problem?"
they just come into your soup.
No.
Cannot.
Oh my god. Okay, well that's why I drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, your dog and my mom are the
mother's
same.
tooth.
So.
I've added a lot of
Anticipating
reasons
your
to my
teeth
list. Thank you
falling
guys.
Yeah, I'm terrified now. Now I can't ever eat soup again.
Yeah, yikes. Soup's been ruined. Thanks,
know.
Linda.
I can
Just
never
don't
smile
chew
again.
on
So.
it.
Thanks a fucking lot.
Okay, so before I get into a story with you guys, I know Christine's stance on this for obvious reasons, but
Right.
how many of you are believers in the supernatural paranormal world?
Me.
Me.
Okay.
I would say I'm about like 65%
There she is. There's
I am
the one.
600%.
Yeah, I'm a fucking witch. I stayed in a haunted hotel this weekend. I mean,
You
I
did?
go like balls deep.
Where'd you
The
stay?
St. James Hotel is one of the most haunted hotels in the country.
Wait, say it again so I can cover it.
The St. James Hotel. It's in Red Wing, Minnesota.
Whoa.
Did I do that?
I don't know if you did that.
Gorgeous.
I don't think I did.
Did
We
anything
snuggled
happen?
in. No, there was a wedding there, so like any paranormal activity was shrouded by like drunk people singing in the hallway.
Oh, sure.
I think you mean
But
shrouded
we,
by
like-
love,
Love
yeah,
and
that. I know, whatever,
wedding
that
bliss.
too.
Passion.
What
It's
is
really-
a wedding but drunk people singing in the hallway, though, really?
Yeah, pretty much. But
Right.
we like snuggled in. We watched The Shining. We were in the snowpocalypse. Like it was amazing. It was
oh
really
my.
Okay, okay. That's fair. Do you have
Yeah.
any? Does anyone have any personal paranormal stories they'd like to share?
As far as I remember, you guys have like a combined story, right?
We do.
We do have a combined
we have a
story.
joint story.
That's not
We-
exactly paranormal, though.
It's not. I've definitely had some paranormal experiences in a couple of houses that I've lived. I've also worked in 2 original firehouses in Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
wow.
So like the two biggest paranormal experiences I've had have been at both of these places that I've worked. So one is converted into a theater company. It's called the Mixed Blood Theater Company.
Ooh.
And yeah, it's really, really fucking cool. This place does amazing work. But I used to be their box office manager. So a lot of times I would be there later at night after rehearsals were over and everything was done, just processing people's like subscription packages because that
Right.
was really tedious administrative work. And the theater and the box office were downstairs, and then upstairs was basically a big open rehearsal space and then some offices, and you could very clearly the ceiling was very thin, and you could hear when people were like stomping around up there rehearsing.
Yeah.
And I used to hear people walking around, running around, like kids playing, things like that upstairs when I was the only one in the building, to the point where I started bringing my dog in at night. To just sit with me. No, Callie.
I was like, Bert's gonna take some Viagra and handle the situation.
And just bang this situation.
I
Stab their eyes
heard
out.
humping. I just heard
I'm all over
rampant
this.
humping.
But the sounds of people would be so vivid that I would check the entire building and then take a walk around the building.
Terrifying.
To just be sure that there weren't other people there. It never really felt all that threatening, but it was definitely weird. And then
creepy.
in the place I work in now, our wine room is in the basement, and I was down there once getting some wine, and I not only heard but felt the air of someone whistling right next to my ear.
That's
Yeah, and I
Oh,
thought
God.
it was one of the line cooks like fucking with me, so I flipped around ready to punch somebody, and no one was there. I checked the prep kitchen, I checked everywhere in the basement, and no one was there. And I went back upstairs like white as a sheet, and my coworkers were like, what the fuck happened? But stuff happens in there all the time. We'll come open the restaurant in the morning, and there will be like broken plates on the ground
What?
Wild.
for no reason. Yeah, it's super weird.
Oh
So,
my
yeah.
God.
Yep.
You wanted me to have my wedding there. Thanks for
I
that.
did. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous.
It is gorgeous. It's a gorgeous place, and they do a great brunch.
And when there are a lot of people there, the ghosts are too scared to come out. They're like mice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a
My-
ghost story.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll keep it short because it can be very long, but it has to do with a psychic that we had on one of our episodes. My psychic, Charles
I
Tiemann.
listened to that episode. I love that episode.
Yeah. So you might have heard me tell this story. I don't remember if I actually told it, but the short version is I bought a photograph from an antique store probably 6 or 7 years ago. And it's like an old sepia photo, old-timey photo of a family, and there's a dead child in the photo, like sitting in the front on a chair.
Those like 19th century photos where they like jack up the corpse in like an outfit.
Yeah.
Oh, and then take, like, a
Post-mortem
final photo.
Victorian. Yeah. So I bought it, obviously, $2. Of course I bought it.
Only
Obviously.
$2.
Obviously.
Yeah. Well, it was in a bin with just a bunch of other old photos. Like, I don't think whoever priced it realized that there was a dead child in the photo.
Yeah, you never
Yeah.
know.
That it was valuable cargo.
So I had it on my shelf of oddities for like 2 years, and then one night I was home by myself, and I heard a noise, and I thought it was one of my cats. So I like went out into the dining room, like thinking that it was, they knocked something off, and they were both crouched on the floor with all their fur up,
Oh,
and like their
no.
tails were huge and their eyes were huge, and I was like, oh my God, it obviously was not one of the cats.
Right.
So this photo was face down on the floor.
Oh my God.
And it had been on the same shelf for like 2 years. Like it didn't just fucking fall off the shelf.
There's no way. There's no
No.
way.
And the cats
So
were
I-
freaked out? Yeah, no.
Yeah, and I was home alone. So I picked up the photo, I put it on the table, and I went back to bed, and I shut the door, and I turned off the lights, and I like covered up my head. I was like, I'm dealing with this in the morning. I was half asleep to begin with anyway. And then a couple minutes later, I felt like a depression on my pillow right next
Nope.
to my head. And I assumed it was, again, one of my cats. It's very convenient to have cats that you can blame creepy shit on all the
Exactly.
time. So I lifted up my eye mask to see which cat it was, because one of them likes being pet and one of them does not. So I wanted to like confirm which cat it was.
Right.
Oh my God. You're such a
there-
fucking cat person.
There were no cats in the room. The door was shut and no cats were in the room.
No.
Yeah.
like it.
So later, I talked to the psychic, and he told me that it was the mother who had this photograph on her bureau for the rest of her life. Because the kid's probably 4 in the picture.
Oh my God.
So she was pouring all of her grief and her energy into this photograph for her entire life. And so the photo was full of all this energy.
Wow.
And that's why it fell on the floor. And then the little boy's spirit was the one who was scared and was trying to climb into bed with me for comfort.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So then I felt bad for saying out loud, please leave me alone. You're scaring me. Because that's what you're supposed to do when there's a ghost scaring you.
Right,
You just
yeah.
ask them to leave. But now I realized it was a 4-year-old boy. And he's probably just sad. So next time he
Just
visits me,
wanted to
I'll be more friendly.
snuggle.
Oh my God, that just gave me chills.
That's wild.
I'm staring at the photo right now. It's right next to my recording space.
Oh, you still have it? Whoa. I want to see it.
Absolutely.
Can you send a photo later of the photo?
Sure.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I will.
Oh, yeah.
If you guys get haunted, though, it's not my fault.
Okay, fair.
We do
They're
make
used
that
to it.
disclaimer all the time on this podcast. We're like, if anything happens, don't fucking blame
Well,
us.
because we actually
Yep.
have had a lot of experiences in this house, and she's only lived here since like September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like while we're recording, shit
Yeah.
goes down.
My little cousin, now she's 11, but when she was a little bit younger, like more like 5 or 6, it was almost like she could see things that adults couldn't see,
Oh, man.
basically. And so there was this one time where I don't have all the details. I have to like talk to my aunt and remind myself all the details. But the essentials is that like my aunt woke up and my little cousin was like downstairs sitting on the couch in the living room, like early in the morning. My aunt was like, what are you doing down here or whatever? And she's like, oh, I was just talking to the man.
Oh,
my
no.
aunt was like, what? What are you talking about?
She's like backing out of the room.
And and my little cousin was like, whatever. And she like described this elderly man to a T, and like I can't remember the details, but like if he had a mustache, she like described the mustache and all this stuff and height and everything and what he talked about and all this stuff. And she said that he was just like sitting on the couch with her. And then my aunt was like, my aunt believes in all the like woo-woo stuff. And
Me too.
but like even more like crystals and salt
Yep.
rooms and
That's Christine.
Yeah,
That's me. LA has
Yep.
changed me. It's too late to go back.
Lucy's into all that stuff too.
Oh, yeah. Des Moines has
so-
changed me, too.
If I haven't heard that a million times,
Always.
The
Fight a
Eastern
nickel.
LA.
famously.
Eastern LA. Oh my god. So anyway, so then my aunt like did some research and talked to the neighbors that had lived in their house longer, or like lived in the neighborhood longer, and the neighbors were like, well, whatever, what did he look like? And she
Right.
described him to a T, and they were like, yeah, that's the previous owner. He died in that house.
So
my
they knew the
gosh.
actual guy that she was talking about? Ew.
Cool.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
they literally were like, yeah, that's Ted or whatever the fuck his name was. Like,
Classic
yeah.
Ted.
Classic Ted.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah,
sitting on the
just
couch
Ted.
watching cartoons. Oh my god.
Literally just sitting on the couch.
When I was younger, I not in my house, but I was staying at another house, and I remember seeing a woman standing over my bed while I was sleeping.
Oh, my.
And my mom was sleeping in the bed with me because we were staying at someone else's house. And I remember trying to wake her up, being like, there's an old woman staring at us right now, and she
Yeah.
is pissed off that we're in this bed. And my mom, true to form, was like, just go to bed. But then the next
fuck up.
day,
Bothering
I
me.
brought it up, and I guess they were trying to hide it from me since I was a little kid. But apparently, the guy's house that we were staying at, his mother died in that room.
Oh god.
Oh my lord.
I like your mom just being like, just go back to sleep.
Not, she wasn't even saying it nicely. She was
My
like,
teeth fall out
"Go
all
to
the
bed. You're
time."
pissing me off."
Yeah.
Standard mothers.
Oh my lord.
Classic
I believe in
mom.
a lot of like intuition stuff, and a lot of like sometimes like my aunt and I have the same tattoo, same aunt that I'm talking about. We have the same tattoo because we had the same dream about my deceased grandmother and her deceased mother on the same night. Like
Oh wow.
yeah, so we both got the same tattoo. So I believe in some of it, but not
Dreams
all
are real,
of
you
it.
guys.
Yeah.
I dream about our friend who passed away a few years ago all of the time. And in
Yeah.
my dream, I can say to her, like, I know you're dead, but it's really cool to, like, see you. And, like, how's everything going? And, like, we have conversations.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's
I've had
acknowledged
some
in my dream that
crazy-
she's dead.
That's
I've
crazy.
had some crazy dreams about my dad who passed away 4 years ago where I can like feel him holding my hand.
Yeah.
I have woken up
Yeah.
like still being able to feel.
That's incredible.
Like I've had a dream where like his hand was on my shoulder. Like it's crazy. It's like he's absolutely there.
That's crazy.
My mom
Yeah.
and my grandpa, or my mom and her dad died when I was 7. But whenever she's really stressed out, she can have dreams where she like says before she goes to bed, like, I really need you, Dad. Like, I really need to have a conversation with you tonight. And he'll show up in her dreams and like talk her through it.
Wow.
That's
amazing.
amazing.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I just got such goosebumps.
Me too. Ah!
I love that stuff.
I want to try that.
It's
I've
so
never tried
real.
like
Move to
summoning.
LA. Everybody's like always talking
We're
about
all
this shit.
granola
Summoning.
people.
We're all granola hippies over here.
Love it.
Or Des Moines.
Or Des Moines. I mean,
Or Des Moines. I mean, if you're feeling Eastern about it.
yeah, like take your
Whatever's
pick.
easiest.
They're pretty much the same thing.
Eastern medicine.
Oh my
Des Moines.
god! If you want all the crystals and none of the weather, check out Des Moines.
That's right. Also, true to form in LA, we have a lot of we have some sirens going on in the background. So sorry, we
Yep.
have some
I'm sure we're ruining your
no
audio.
worries.
Sorry.
extra noise.
Whatever. We always have like barking dogs. So
Yeah,
I just had Gio
My
saying
dog-
hello a couple minutes ago.
Yep.
Amanda's
my
usually
dog
eating.
barks.
I'm not now.
Fun.
I'm not. Thank God.
So
Fall.
I wanted to do a story this week in honor of you guys. I wanted it to be wine themed.
Sure.
Yes.
So I am doing a haunted winery,
Hey.
Yes.
Right on brand.
Let's buy it.
and it's in
Yes.
Liberty. I tried to find one in Minnesota,
Minnesota.
but I could only find Missouri.
Missouri. It's close.
Close enough.
2 states
Am I?
away.
Man.
Close enough.
It starts with the same letter.
It's meh is what I was going for.
Yeah.
Look at
I
that.
agree. I'm on board.
So this is in Liberty.
Midwest.
This is in Liberty, Missouri, and it's called the Belvoir Winery.
Sounds fancy.
Ooh. Okay.
Ooh.
All right, okay, so we're all on board. I
Belvoir.
see.
It sounds fancy except for the Liberty, Missouri part.
Right, yeah. It sounds French, and then it sounds like it's in Missouri.
I feel like Liberty, Missouri was the birthplace of French wine.
Oh,
is
yeah.
what I've heard.
You know what? I think I've
So-
also heard that, and I also
Yep.
agree.
Yes.
I'm going with that's real.
I like that theory.
Yep. Yep.
So
God.
it's all the way back in 1887, and it started as a hotel called the Reed Springs Hotel.
Okay.
And I'm just giving you guys a little bit of history, but then we'll get to the good stuff. In 1895, it was sold. It's no longer a hotel. It was sold to a secret society known as the. Its initials are IOOF, which is not a good abbreviation.
IOOF.
It's like IOOF.
Youth.
Woof.
But the secret society's name is the International Order of Odd Fellows.
Get out of here.
Joining it.
Sign
Joining
about
it
me.
We are all members of that now.
now.
Yeah.
I will sign a fucking blood oath. I want to be a part of
Actually, I looked into
100%.
I looked into how to become a member of this because
Oh my God, yes.
to me it sounded a lot like X-Men, like the school of
Yeah.
mutants. And so apparently you actually have to like be a participant for 5 years before you can even apply.
Participate.
Don't make
What do
me
you
participate in
participate?
anything.
Make me
Join.
Participating
Let's
for
start
squares.
now.
So it's surprisingly actually a really like helpful secret society. Like I was expecting it to be like some shady shit.
Yeah.
Is it like philanthropic?
Yes. So it's
Volunteerism.
it's leaders in the community that take care of orphans and elderly people that are in need of care.
Are you kidding me?
Wow. Okay.
All right.
Wow.
Okay.
And it's been around since I think 1900 it was officially established, but it started in 1895.
I cannot believe this is a thing that I've never heard of.
I know we should all join
I
it.
can dig it.
I'm
Kind
in.
of diminished my enthusiasm once I found out what they actually did.
Yeah. It's a little less exciting, I guess.
I know. I really thought everyone had a power.
I mean, there is wine. Apparently, they own a vineyard, so
That's true. They knew exactly where to set up shop.
yep,
So,
yep,
so the order, as they're called,
by themselves.
by themselves only,
Of the Phoenix.
of the Phoenix,
Joy.
they used this property as a place to house, teach, and nurse orphans and the elderly that did not have a home.
Wow.
And so they had multiple buildings. Three of them still stand. One of them is caringly called the old folks' home.
Oh,
And
charming.
I know.
Youth. What are they called? Yeah, a youth.
Ayoof.
Ayoof.
The youth old
Oofda.
folks' home.
It's called UFF-DA, Old Folks Home, and I've already bought a plot. It's mine.
Bring it to the writer's
Her
room with
spot
Harry Porter.
Harry Potter. Larry Potter.
Perry Hodder.
That's the one.
So this place was actually pretty advanced for the early 1900s. They were self-sustained by their own farm, where the elderly taught the children how to garden and farm. So they actually made their own produce.
That sounds like a movie.
Yeah, it was really much like the Boxcar Children, but also with elderly people.
What's that Hotel
favorite.
Majestic?
There's also
My fucking
wine
favorite.
and yeah, I like this story so far.
And so the kids had daily chores, and it was basically like a mentorship where the elderly were staying fit by, chasing around children, and the children were learning from the elderly people. So it was like a hand-in-hand kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they also
Why
had
isn't that a thing?
a hospital on site, which for a while was the only medical facility in Liberty, Missouri.
Oh.
And it even had its own laboratory.
You mean a laboratory?
Right, yeah, back
This
then.
is Liberty, Missouri we're
Yeah,
talking
this is the French, guys. So,
The French, the birthplace of French wine.
Yes.
La
Liberty,
Laboratory.
La Laboratory.
And so the Grand Lodge, which it is not on this property, it's just like their main hub. One of their rules is it's impossible under their law for any of their homes to reject an applicant due to physical disability.
Oh, okay.
And
Progressive.
Yeah, very progressive.
super progressive. So even if you weren't an orphan or an elderly person, if you were in desperate need of medication that no one was like, and no one else was looking out for you, they would take you in.
That's so kind.
They also had an old school. I'm sorry, Gio is making a lot of noises.
Gio's crying outside. He hears us laughing and then he gets jealous.
He wants to be in on the joke.
Bring him in. Put him in your
Let him
lap.
in. I feel your pain. Can we take like a 30-second break? I have to pee so bad.
That's fine.
Oh, please do. Yeah.
Oh
I'm
my
going
God.
to deal with Gio for 1 second.
Okay.
Gio, honey. Hi, Bear.
Do you know how many times Christine and I have to like pause for any reason at all? It's like,
Oh, we
I
believe
have to
it.
sneeze for the next 5 minutes. Excuse me.
Natural. Good.
One of our first, actually, it was our first interview we ever had.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
We were on Hillbilly Horror Stories, and we had ordered a pizza thinking it would show up perfectly after the interview. So as soon as we were done, we would be like, oh, we could have pizza. And he knocked on the door right behind us or right in front of us, and Gio flipped the fuck out.
And then we had to be like, sorry, we ordered a pizza. And they were like, what?
On a real interview, not like it could be really edited.
Yeah, it was really awkward. Anyway.
Hey, we've been there. We get it.
Yeah,
We
we're
totally
good at
get
this.
it.
It's fine.
Yeah, we're professionals.
Anyway. Okay, go on.
Who even knows where we were?
Oh, I don't know, actually. There were old people.
Fellows.
There were a lot of old
That
people.
they had to provide free medication.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So it was a medical facility that was already super progressive on top of being a self-sustaining farm, and
Sure.
it was just the biz. It was the stuff. And so
Sounds ideal.
and so they also had a school that had the first instrumental music classes that were offered in Missouri. And
Lord.
eventually
When was this? 2001?
Yes.
Just kidding. Kind of.
There was also a boys band that was organized through this, and they made annual tours around the state.
And their name was NSYNC.
Oh. maybe so.
Stop.
Around Missouri.
I don't know if their name was in sync, but
No.
I imagine their name
Well,
was like
then.
the Odd Fellows.
The IOOFs.
Again, O-Town.
O-Town. That's
boys.
right. O-Town.
And the
O-Town.
the education that they actually received at what was it fucking called? Oh yeah, the Order.
The order. Sure.
Oofda.
So the education there was much more superior to what other kids were being taught at the time, and college tuition was provided for them as early as the 1920s.
Holy shit.
Because these people, I guess, like you have to be. I don't know if you have to be wealthy, but you have to be really willing to donate a lot of money to be a part of this organization.
Oh, I'm out.
And so
We're out. Yeah.
Fuck this shit.
And so anyone that I think it said back then everyone's membership fee was like $2, and that was in the 1800s.
Oh.
And so
All right.
that
Well,
was
Too rich
it's a
for my
flat
blood.
fee.
yeah, so it was a lot of money, but all the money went straight towards the building and college tuition and everything like
Okay.
that. So.
Okay.
Also, they had a really healthy family life there where and not family life like there were families living there because they're orphans.
Delicate.
That was
Rub it in.
Orphans are hilarious.
I'm glad you said it. But they tried to encourage a family lifestyle with all the people who lived there. So they had heavy music recitals, literary recitals that the children would perform for the elderly, and they also had book subscriptions, newspaper subscriptions, and magazine subscriptions to encourage reading. And they actually had a class in the 1920s to teach the kids how to build radio sets.
Aww.
They had free movies.
Practical skills.
Practical skills, and they had movies for free, which at the time were called moving pictures.
Oh, sure.
Oh my God.
And
Nickelodeons, don't you know?
at the
Don't
laboratory.
you want to watch a racehorse running over and over on a loop?
Yes.
And they
Just
had
a flip book.
And O-Town was playing the soundtrack.
actually, yeah, the band orchestrated the whole thing. So
I
they
love
had,
the idea that O-Town are like immortal rocks.
Like, it just makes sense to me that that's who it was.
I mean, it's the only reason they had a career.
Right.
they only. Oh my gosh.
They owe everything to IU.
Immortal orphaned warlocks.
What's
Okay,
that George
totally
Clooney
random
movie?
anecdote, and feel free to cut this, but
Not going to. Keep going.
We
As
won't.
we so often do on our show. Just kidding.
oh my God,
Kenyon's anecdotes.
when my mom had a hysterectomy,
There it is.
Good start.
I knew we were going in this
I'm
direction.
already sold.
I knew it.
Making the Band or whatever, the show about
Right.
O-Town was
my
on TV. And my
Yes.
mom is so not into pop culture or
Anything?
anything remotely, or even television. Like, she's so not into that. But she was like hopped up on these pain meds.
Oh, boy.
Recuperating for a few weeks. And
Oh my
watching.
God.
And like the only thing she watched was this fucking O-Town reality.
I feel like I
TV
remember
show.
this
God.
period of your
Highest
life.
balls watching Making the Band is my new favorite mental image.
Yeah.
That was such a, like, weird one-hit wonder show.
Did
Yeah.
you do that song about breaking up, and it was like the hardest part of
Breaking
breaking
up is hard
getting
to
back
do?
my stuff?
My
that a
mom
song?
would
I'm gonna
My
like,
one hoodie I left when I had
Cry.
dinner with your family because
Yeah.
you're in 10th grade. Shut up.
Yeah.
she would like cry because one of the characters was from Hawaii and he missed his family, and my mom would
my
like
God. She was so
sob,
moved.
like just like
Empathize.
weep that he missed his family.
Listen,
like
Percocet makes you really empathetic, okay?
Yeah.
I've been there.
I cried
Percocet's
through
a
the
hell
whole,
of a drug, yo.
the whole
You know-
series of weeds when I got my wisdom teeth out.
When I got my
It's a good
wisdom
show.
teeth out, I became really in because I mean it was like I guess I found it at the exact quote right moment, if there was ever such a thing, where I became really into Degrassi.
Oh, dear.
Yes. Oh my God.
But here's the
Yes.
thing. The reason I call it the right time is because I got my wisdom teeth out on like my 15th birthday. So happy birthday to me.
Yay.
And also it was summer. And so I guess they had it on like a 24-hour loop
Yup.
because it was leading up to
still
the
do that.
new. It was leading up to
It's
the new
constant.
season. And so at any hour I could come to from the medication and be watching Degrassi.
Yep.
Oh
Yep.
my God.
And my
love
mom
how-
was taking care of me, so she also started watching a lot of Degrassi. And it's basically like a
to.
soap opera for teenagers. And my mom loves soap operas. So to this day, every now and then, she's like, whatever happened to that show with like Fiona and Declan? And like, what's going on with them?
God, yes.
well, let me tell you about Drake.
Let's
My
transition to
origin
Drake.
story for my obsession with Canada.
Oh, my God.
Yes,
Here
I do
we
love a
are.
good Canadian TV show, if anything. So.
That's fair.
If it doesn't involve Percocets, we don't want to hear it right now.
No, we don't. We don't. Stay away.
Anyway, back to the School of Orphans,
Oh,
guys.
sure.
Yes, yes, yes. Back to the hilarious orphan.
Right.
Back to
The
O-Town.
comedy matter for
Got
the
it.
show.
Yeah. So there was also a Sunday school meetup group that was conducted at the home, and there was transportation provided for any like choice of church service. So they would truck you out to wherever you wanted to go for church.
Jeez.
They had
As long as
holidays
you
that were
going to
always
church,
celebrated.
they'd make sure
Often,
you got there.
say that again.
I was to say, as long as you fucking wanted to go to church, they'll make sure you get there.
What if you went into like the satanic church?
You were
What
like,
if- Would they truck you there?
I don't know.
We don't offer services that reliable for like our differently abled population, but if you want to get to fucking church in Missouri in like 1901, we're gonna get you there.
Yeah.
I don't give
Funds
a
will
fuck
be found.
what it
We will
takes.
only have one cart and buggy, but if you can hold on to
It's
the wheel
yours.
real tight.
What if your church was like the VFW?
Yeah.
No, that counts. That counts.
Holidays were also celebrated, often complete with presents and food and refreshments provided by the home. And there was a monthly family dinner for over 600 people that was held celebrating any child or elderly person's birthday that month.
Oh my God, that's so precious.
Wow.
So
I was like to be an orphan.
it was like a perfect little commune.
Me too.
It was like the cults before they go bad.
Right. It's like
Yeah.
that like
Yeah.
prime golden
Good
hour of a
community.
cult. Yeah.
The Rajneesh.
Yes.
Oh my God. I totally would have lived with them. And then they started poisoning
Yeah.
the rest of the town, like, inexplicably.
It just like got real bad real quick.
Yeah.
Jerks. It escalated.
Just-
Someone made
Just
one
like a
bad
nice
idea while they were a
cradle.
little too energetic.
Yeah, too excited.
Yeah.
Too excited.
It only takes one bad idea, though,
Yep.
you guys. We've learned this the hard
That's
way.
the lesson that you should take away from both our
We've
podcasts.
learned this over and over.
There's one thing our shows have taught you.
I mean, it was a great story up until now, but of course it had to come to an end because this is a story
Always.
about ghosts.
Oh, no.
And people have to turn into ghosts, don't
I was
they?
hoping they'd be happy ghosts though.
I mean, they would, but something has to happen for them to get to that point.
Okay, fair.
Yep. They gotta die.
Yes, there's got to be a
Jesus.
crossover, much like this episode.
Oh, good tie-in. Good
Execution
tie-in.
style.
So in the 1900s, here's my like novel expertise research, by the way.
Yeah.
Something was frozen. That's my information I found.
What does that even mean?
Something was.
That's an
My
Amanda
heart.
research
My
move
eggs?
if I ever fucking heard one.
We have so many possibilities. you guys.
The possibilities are endless.
I'm just saying, compared if you
Something.
guys go back and if you listen to the Wine and Crime crossover episode first before this one, you'll hear just how unbelievably researched they are. And then all of a sudden, my dumbass is like, something got frozen.
My expression is currently frozen.
No, we only seem unbelievably researched in that episode because only Kenyon wrote a case. If you get a taste of my cases, it's like, I don't fucking know. People died. Moving on.
Oh, have you ever listened to an episode where I'm trying to explain multiple floors of a building? Because I'm
Isn't
always
that
like,
every episode?
Yes.
I'm like, on the fourth floor. Oh, wait, I mean the second floor.
You're like, wait, which one's above the fourth? Is there a fifth? I don't know.
The basement's basement.
Yeah.
So in the 1900s, something was frozen in the basement. So it was I'm assuming something mechanical to keep the place going.
Okay.
And so because it was the 1900s and they weren't scientists or using common sense,
They had a laboratory.
There's no way to know.
They didn't
No
use
way
it
to
though,
know.
I guess.
Science
so
didn't
be-
exist in the 1900s.
Definitely
1800s.
not.
And who knows? I mean, 1900s, that's like 100 years to play with. So who knows?
Right.
In the 1900s, something was frozen in the basement.
Sure.
And to unfreeze it, they used blowtorches.
Oh my. Oh no.
Of course.
Natch.
I'm guessing
fuck else would you
boiler.
And so they accidentally burned everything down.
Oh no.
Oh my god, yes.
Yep.
I mean, no.
I mean, who
That-
could have thought that would happen?
Who could have guessed?
So
Oh
currently, that's literally all the history, by the way. So who knows what happens?
If something froze and then they all just went up in flames.
Yeah,
Okay.
everything froze
Yep.
and then everything got really hot.
Oh my. Okay.
So there's only 3 buildings left from that time are still standing.
Tell me the laboratory survived.
The laboratory did not.
Oh.
The
Son of
administration
a
building
bitch.
did.
Oh, thank God.
Who could forget that? The hospital,
The paperwork.
and of course, the old folks
The
home.
old folks' home.
Thank God.
Thank God.
So
I'm a little bummed that the old folks home made it, if we're gonna be real.
also the orphanage. I think it was the hospital, but one of the 3 buildings that's still standing was also used as the orphanage originally. So there is
I
still
hope
there's
it's one of the ones still standing.
I do too.
yeah. Whoops. And so there's also an on-site cemetery where almost 1,000 people are buried.
There's
shit.
always an on-site cemetery.
Well, in this case, it's because a lot
there
of the elderly
always?
didn't have anyone to arrange burials for them.
Oh, sad.
Right.
So they had like a cemetery. So when the elderly people left, they didn't have, you know.
you know.
They have no one to contact.
elderly.
So.
It was elderly and orphans, right? Not
Yeah, so
elderly
no one had
orphans.
Elderly orphans.
I'm just making sure. Some of them might have had family. I don't know.
Maybe they
Put my
did.
shit on a poorly constructed Viking raft and
Yep,
push
light
me
it
out to
up.
sea.
A Viking funeral?
Light
Yeah,
it
I
the
don't.
The
I
middle
don't give a
of
shit.
Lake Minnetonka. The cops
yeah.
are called.
By the way, I'm
Pontoon.
wearing Minnetonkas today.
Moccasins.
I am.
Just for you.
Minnetonka
Just because I knew that
moccasins
exact Viking
the best.
burial comment would happen.
Yep.
are- This
My
is where we're
heart
from.
is as warmed as the crematory of this laboratory.
Oh my! Well,
God.
that's quite a
Wow.
compliment to
Post
me.
blow
Clear-
torches.
Clearly, this whole
Over 400
episode
degrees
we have
Fahrenheit.
scripted and rehearsed several times.
Yes.
Yeah,
God.
was
If you
that
can't
good?
tell.
No, I actually. Fun fact: I grew up with my dad. Anytime we're home, he would wear Minnetonkas. They were his favorite shoe.
I have some
my
Minnetonkas.
God, that's literally the part of Minnesota that we're from.
Oh,
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
from Minnetonka.
I know.
I'll take a
Went
picture
to
of me in my
Minnetonka.
shoes later.
Go.
They have buffalo plaid, red buffalo plaid on the inside.
Sure.
Oh,
Super
you goddamn
comfy.
know it.
You gotta.
You gotta go plaid when you're going Minnetonka.
Oh yeah.
That's their slogan.
The three of us went to Minnetonka High School.
Shut the fuck up.
I never. Okay.
Yeah.
I know this is gonna sound super stupid, but I didn't know Minnetonka was a town. I thought
it's a
Minnetonka was
town.
the company
It's a
that just
city.
made these shoes.
It's a big old suburb of Minneapolis.
It
It's got
means
a lot
big
of people
lake.
living in it.
Makes
it's
sense
right
with
on
the
Lake
Minna.
Minnetonka.
Yeah.
Minnetonka, Minneapolis.
There's so
Yeah.
much.
Minnesota is many lakes and Minnetonka is big lake, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who'da thunk?
Look at you.
It's like we're
I mean, we're geography experts always. but
always.
Obviously.
First and
Amazing.
foremost.
Today we're just letting it slide so you look smarter than us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we really appreciate that.
This is all.
Thank you. We need
So
it.
nice. of
You're
you.
welcome.
I knew you guys were really going to try with your story, which is why I kept mine too. Something got frozen.
Something
Love
got
it.
frozen.
Back
Okay,
to
so
the orphans.
back to the orphans. Currently, the orphanage, or the property that these buildings stand on, is now operating as a winery and
Hell
a
yeah.
9-bedroom inn.
Oh, that is
God, this
awesome.
was a winery. We're
In
going.
Missouri.
Yeah, we're super going.
Let's go.
I want
Yeah.
to go.
I mean, it's only
Yeah.
2 states
No,
away
no,
for
no.
you guys.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go do a live
Kenny
show
and
there.
Lucy. No, you are not allowed to fucking go there without me.
I'm Googling
putting
it. I'm going.
the
I'm
kibosh-
leaving right
No.
now. I have to
No.
go, you guys.
No.
Guys, we're doing
You're
a
off the
live show
show.
there together, all of us.
Yes.
I'm
That'd be
so
fun.
excited.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So here is where things get creepy. So they still actually have some of the remaining items from when it was owned by the order. And so
I thought you were gonna say remains.
Oh, just actually there's
And I was
children's
like-
skeletons.
What the fuck?
So they actually, like, in the 9-bedroom inn, they still have nurse clothing, hospital equipment, and school supplies, all from the late 1800s.
Yeah.
You guys,
that's creepy.
This place
as
is only
fuck.
6 hours and 48 minutes if you drive the speed limit from my house.
Well, then we're definitely doing it.
Let's go.
We're going.
We're going.
That's like us driving to, like, San Francisco.
That's like us driving across half the city of LA.
Yes.
We're
Yeah,
going.
in traffic.
It takes about 5 hours for me to get to work every morning, actually.
Yep.
So they have an in-house paranormal research team.
That's great.
Yes, they
my-
do.
Full fucking time.
Like, they have it, they come in every single week, and on Fridays in October, they do ghost tours with people.
Sure.
Done.
And on
Done.
Wednesdays they wear pink.
Making my reservation.
And they are known as creeps with a Z.
I'm sorry. What?
Creeps?
Okay.
Creeps with a Z.
Yes.
I kind of hate that, but I'm gonna let it go because it sounds like a dream job.
I just
That
feel
was
like
our failed tagline from our first episode that only made it 1 or 2 episodes. We were
Pretty
like, I
much.
don't know.
Keep
Need a
it creepy.
tagline. Keep it creepy. And then we're
Yeah.
like, nah, this is creepy. We're cutting it.
Stupid. We're done.
we're becoming the creeps.
Yeah.
So creeps stands for City and Rural Explorers Examining Paranormal Zones.
Oh, they're so full of it. They just were like, what words can we make into this
Yeah.
with a Z?
Yeah.
Literally,
They picked creeps with a Z first.
For
and
sure.
Then they fucking created.
Ultra
sure.
high premiums.
I was a paranormal investigator, and I can tell you no one ever calls anything a paranormal zone. Unless you're a Ghostbuster.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
believe it.
So, fun fact, Sci-Fi
goodness.
Channel's Ghost Hunters has filmed an episode there.
Nice.
And
Yes.
I'm
that
just
show.
going to start. We've got quite a list of things for me to read to you about
I'm ready.
things that have happened here.
Sure.
Oh my god,
Mm.
yes. Yes.
Okay,
Ghosts, ghosts, ghosts.
So, I thought you were saying go, go, go.
I'm also saying that.
So, ghost sightings have included, can you guess, orphan children.
Oh, dear.
Oh, shocked.
Elderly
What about
orphans.
orphaned elderly people? There we go.
How do we know that they're orphan children?
Yeah, that's also true.
What, just because they're alone?
Yeah, because they're a child,
Yeah.
they have to be an orphan.
They wear a sign around their neck. It's really disturbing.
I am an orphan.
So it includes orphan children, a mischievous man,
Oh, God.
which I don't know what that
That
means,
Sounds pervy. He sounds like a
nasty.
creep
I
with a
do
Z.
not like that.
and a singing old lady.
I love her.
Oh, there's always a singing old. That's
is it
maybe
with
the ghost
those?
I am.
Yep.
Where I'm really obnoxiously singing things with like a really thick, like old timey.
But
lady.
you'll know it's Amanda when she's like,
June
it's
is
not
busting
unusual
all
to be
over.
loved by anyone. Da 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 da.
June.
Very, very old time Broadway,
Yes.
like transatlantic.
So yeah, get ready to be haunted by me.
So
The old O-Town songs.
yeah, you get it. You're there. So people have heard odd voices and noises, which have included children giggling and running up and down the stairs.
Yup.
Nope.
You've been there.
Been there
doors-
so hard.
Doors have opened and closed by themselves. The owner tells when people ask him like something he's gone through, his specific memory is of a little boy in a red shirt, blue pants, and brown boots who appeared near the fireplace. And although he was visible, you could see the details of the fireplace through him.
Yeah.
Okay, there is nothing worse
Spooksters.
than a ghost child in
Yep.
shorts.
Yup.
I'm sorry, did you just say a ghost child in jorts?
In denim and jean shorts.
That too.
With like the little
ghost-
sock garters. You just
Yeah.
know he had sock
A
garters. You just
ghost
know
child in like bloomers.
Ooh.
No.
Well,
No,
it's funny
thank
you say that because it's actually like I changed it to just say blue shorts, but it's actually written as blue knickers.
Oh,
There you
the
go.
worst.
It's like you knew.
Knicker ghosts. Knicker ghosts.
Pantaloons.
No thanks.
And pantaloons.
Kenya's
Knick
worst
knack
nightmare.
paddywhack. So
As we say on our podcast regularly.
Yeah,
as
that's
you
your
do in the
tagline?
transatlantic way,
Your tagline is knick knack paddywhack.
It is now.
as of today.
Love it.
Although so I said although you could see the fire through him, which is just its own version of hell, I think.
Yes.
Yep.
Children have been heard singing "Ring Around the Rosie" in the halls.
No, they haven't. Get the fuck out. You're done.
If it's not unusual, I don't want anything to do with it.
What's new, pussycat? What?
That'll also be
Or
something
Drops of
the
Jupiter.
children
I can't.
hauntingly sing.
Honestly, any song by Train is the best. I
Yeah.
think. Or like All Star.
Yes.
Virginia.
Hey now.
Imagine like a troop of orphans coming in their sleep to sing All Star.
In their pantaloons.
Ghosts of like tweens from the late 90s, early 2000s. It's going to
nightmare.
be way more entertaining than like Victorian
No, I
ghosts.
totally agree.
So the owner's daughter has also heard a little girl talk to her.
Nope.
And while investigating the hospital area, one of the investigators had to sit down after feeling uneasy. But when she stood up, all she remembers is blacking out and feeling an ice cold hand on her head, and then waking up. But what happened to everyone that was around her is that something shoved her head into the wall, like into like the metal beam of the wall. And then when she like got away from the wall, her eyes were rolled back in her head and they can only see the whites of her eyes.
Nope.
And she was sweating and panting profusely.
Gross.
Ick.
Oh.
When are men gonna figure out that head pushing is not a move?
That's the moral of the story.
Especially into a metal beam.
No, yeah.
Keep your fucking hands to yourself while I'm down there.
I will set the pace.
So when she finally, like she said, she blacked out and only felt an ice cold hand on her head, but she also remembers the entire time that she was blacking out, only being able to hear growls and like coming in and out of consciousness and then blacking out.
Oh, good.
Oh my god.
Okay.
People
this
also
was a
hear
happy
a deep
cult.
growl coming from the room known as the mischievous man's room.
No.
No.
For a lot of reasons. So they went to go check it out when they heard the growls, and they felt a heavy oppressive feeling coming over them and heard hissing in their head.
Ew.
Like they heard like hissing between their ears.
Ugh.
No.
Oh. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
In the administrative building, which was, that was the one that was once used as an orphanage.
Right.
They had different meters set up all around to try and catch any like electromagnetic activity or anything that could resemble spiritual activity.
I'm picturing the golden compass.
The only time they got anything one night was when they all decided to sing "Mary Had a Little Lamb," and then all the meters fell. All the meters fell off the tables.
Oh my God.
The kids were like,
Nice.
this is my favorite song.
They were like, "This is not Ring Around the Rosie,
My
bitch.
jam.
This is not All Star.
This is not All Star."
Not what I signed up for.
I'm gonna drop you like a fucking Jupiter until you play all
I'm gonna drop it like it's hot till you play the hits.
the hits.
So
Just play the hits.
in a shed outside that was once used for storage, orphans used to hide there so they could avoid doing chores.
Oh, nice. Me too.
Relatable.
Classic.
And so there are these things when you're investigating called dowsing rods that
Yeah.
they're basically like, do you know what those are?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do not.
Okay, if you keep them in your hand, it's very much like the planchet of a Ouija board, where if you're touching it, they can use like your energy and move the planchet using like your.
Oh, okay.
Like that's why
Okay.
you need to be touching the planchet on a Ouija board because they need your energy to help move it along.
Right.
So a dowsing
Okay.
rod is basically the same thing where you hold these metal rods that are really lightweight, and because your energy is flowing through it, they can move the rods and point in directions for you.
Right.
So
like where they cross over. Didn't they used to find water like that?
Yes.
Yes.
Like they used to find like where natural springs were, right?
Yeah, and they cross over if there's like a heavy level of activity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they were using dowsing rods, and one of the questions, they went into the shed where they used to hide and said, "Are your friends here? Can you show us where your friends are?" And the rods moved in different directions on their own, one pointing behind a box that was left over, and one pointing at a chair as if it was like hiding behind the chair.
On that note, you guys, it's $60 per ticket for these paranormal investigation parties. Amanda, there's
I'm
one
in.
Friday, June 15th. We're going.
Oh my god. In Minneapolis?
No, in Liberty,
Oh, in
Missouri.
Actually,
Joy, okay.
they lift the winery and bring it to you.
Yeah.
So
In Minnesota.
they bring it to Minnesota for you to do it in your own backyard.
For only $60.
For only $60. They ship the whole thing over.
Their business model seems shady at best, but I'm
Just go with it.
So
It's our
they
preferred business model, actually.
you can also use the rods as a yes or no game. So if you want them to cross over, it'll say yes. If you don't want them, it'll be to separate them. It means no. And so one of the investigators asked if they thought the girl in the room, like one of the girls that was an investigator, they asked, "Do you think she's pretty?" And it said yes. Which, thank God, because kids are brutally honest.
What if it was like, no?
Yeah. What? Yeah. Nah.
Nah, she's
It was
fat.
the first
She's ugly.
7 out of 10
recorded
maybe on a good day.
spelling of
Spells it out on a
MEH.
Ouija board. The girl's like, okay, stop.
I get it.
I get it.
They
So when it,
misspelled marvelous.
When it was time to say goodbye, that same woman said she felt the experience of being hugged, but below her waist, like a child was trying to hug her.
Oh, God.
Or a man on his knees.
Or a man on his knees.
Oh, an orphaned elderly man.
The mischievous man.
So the most common thing are voices, laughing, and singing. However, some people have also seen shadows, apparitions, and figures of, like, black figures, like solid black figures of men peeking around corners and staring at them.
Yeah.
Oh my
Always
God.
men being creeps,
No.
even after death.
With
Can't you
a
just
Z.
fuck
Yeah.
off and leave us alone?
Creeps.
Yeah, for real.
Yep.
Fucking post-mortem Me Too. God damn it.
Yeah. Could we fucking not?
So the woman who experienced the hug, people have reported feeling grabbing on their shoulders or their pants legs being tugged. And there used to be a morgue in the nursing home, and people have felt being pushed, touched, and seeing dark shadows and hearing like whispers into their ear.
Nope.
People have also heard whistling right in their ear, and even
Hey, like you, Amanda.
yeah,
Yep.
and
This is hitting too close to me.
this is actually your story.
The story of Amanda.
Good God.
And then they've also caught on recordings children yelling at each other.
Oh.
And there's like the woman who experienced the hug, others have felt being grabbed by their shoulders or their pant legs being tugged.
Oh, God.
There is also a morgue
Nope.
in the nursing home, and people have felt being pushed, shoved, touched, and seeing dark shadows and hearing
Jesus.
voices.
Jesus.
Yeah. Huh.
Nope.
People have also heard whistling, which is something that you've also experienced.
Yes.
And on recordings, they've heard children yelling at each other.
Of course.
Okay.
I don't know what they're saying, but I bet
Yep.
it's juicy.
Oh, I'm sure.
Children gossip is always the hot.
Seriously.
You've been
You
using my
got
Xbox.
it, yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
Who stole my
Yeah.
Ozone CD?
Also, down the hallways, when you're in the building, you can hear a piano being played, but you can never find the piano.
Oh, I don't like that.
That sounds like a
Nope.
cruel game.
It's someone trying to teach themselves
Oh
also.
my God.
Chopsticks. So
Drops of
People have
Virginia.
drops of
Meet Virginia.
Over and over and over again.
Spare
for
us.
eternity.
I'd kill myself.
People have heard a glass smashed on the ground and shatter in the room with them. Like they felt the thud on the floor if something hit the
What?
ground, but there was no glass to be found. And other people have also heard glass shattering from rooms down the hall.
I
but found
can't
nothing.
Whoa.
wait for this paranormal tour with Amanda
Yeah,
in June.
it's happening.
They also have used EMF detectors, so it's like it reads electromagnetic waves and starts at a green light for a base read and goes all the way up to red based on how intense the activity is near it. And so they placed all of these EMF detectors like one by one down the hallway in like probably like 5 or 6 feet apart from each other. And when they were asking if anyone was there, each one went off all the way to red one by one as if someone was running down the hall.
Oh, that is good.
Yuck.
Which is one of the things that I experienced a lot when I was doing my investigations. We would put EMF detectors all around the room, and we were talking to 2 children in one of the houses that we went to a lot. And we would ask for them to try and hit every single one of the EMF readers, and you would see them go off one by one like they were running around in a circle around the room.
Oh my God.
Asking for a friend. How much is an EMF detector?
60.
As much as the
60?
tour.
As much as the tour,
$60.
60 bucks.
We're
So
getting
worth
them.
it.
We're buying them.
Oh,
Company card.
Fuck yeah.
And usually
That's
you can
going on
bring
the
those things
business
on tours.
account.
You can bring those things on tours
Yep.
with you. So if you buy
Yep.
it ahead of
Yep,
time,
yep,
you
yep.
can use it.
Joy. Definitely a work-related
Side
expense.
note.
And how long were you a paranormal
Side-
investigator for?
I was with a group in Yorktown, Virginia. And it was by a group. I mean, it was me and one other guy that went from place to place. But we also would work with different teams throughout colonial Virginia. So like Williamsburg, Jamestown, because they're the oldest places in the country. So they're.
Were you ever just like enough with the Civil War?
It's not Civil War.
Well, yeah, I grew up with the Civil War
colonialism.
because I also grew up in Fredericksburg, which was like a huge part of the Civil War. So
Yeah.
every history class growing up, we learned. I know too much about the Civil War. So,
Yeah.
but Oh, all right. Two last things. So people have seen a child's apparition in the ladies' room walking into the bathroom. And
Seriously.
and they've also seen a lady walking across a doorway in the library, like through the doorway, and singing to herself or humming to herself, which is extra creepy.
Also a perv in my book.
And then also the last thing I'm going to say is there's my favorite piece of equipment for investigations is called the spirit box.
Done.
Where
Sold.
It runs through radio waves at a really fast rate because the theory is that if ghosts are talking to us, they're just on another frequency. They're on another wave that we can't hear. So if you run a bunch of radio waves really quickly, you can hear them talking through the radio waves at a frequency we can
Like
hear.
the Beatles recording
Well-
backwards or whatever.
Yes, exactly that.
And so they
Damn
use this.
it.
They used a spirit box one time, and they asked, "Is it okay that we're here with you?" And they got through the radio waves. They heard someone say, "Yes, that's fine."
Ooh.
Ooh.
You can
What
actually
if your
talk to them.
Yep,
ghosts
you can talk to
spoke
them
a
in real
different
time.
language?
That
Yeah.
would suck.
It'd be like levels.
That would suck for them. They'd be like, I'm just trying to tell you something and no one's listening.
I'd like to think once you die, if you become a spirit, you just inherently know all languages.
Oh, that's a good way
I mean,
to
like,
look at
I
it.
don't think it's true, but I would hope that that's like a secret
That's
power
my
you
preferred
get.
superpower.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a part of the order or whatever it's called.
Yes.
The Order of Odd Fellows.
The Order of UFF-DA.
UFF-DA.
That's
Do you
the
guys
one.
know what UFF-DA is?
No.
You probably don't know what UFF-DA is. Okay, so UFF-DA is like a Scandinavian phrase that has become part of Minnesotan culture because there were so many Scandinavian immigrants, including like
It's
all
like
of
an
our
interjection.
ancestors.
It's not a word.
It's like woof.
It means
It's like
it's
woof.
like
Yeah.
No, it's like with like Jewish like oi.
Oy
Like
vey. Got it, got it.
It's
UFF-DA.
It's that, but it's UFF-DA.
Oofda.
Yup.
Got it.
I really like it and I
Oofda.
think I might
Yep.
adopt it.
Yeah, you're gonna start
You
listening to
should.
our episodes and hear oofda a lot.
Yes.
I love it. I would be so
That
honored.
thrills me to
All right,
no
cool.
end.
Look,
Yep.
multicultural learning is what happens on this podcast.
Look at that.
Well, anyway, guys,
I
that
mean,
was
I don't know if you heard our episode where I did a German accent, Christine, but
I mean,
it
if
was
I did, I
rough.
might have blacked it out.
It
I'm not
was.
She
sure.
was so
way
offended, she
better
just
than
blocked the
yours.
whole thing out.
It was rough. It wasn't great.
Well,
Whatever.
that's what I'm going to spend the rest of my Sunday looking for, obviously.
I try to avoid.
And that was incredible.
I try to avoid doing stories with crazy names unless it's from Germany because at least I know Christine will handle it.
Otherwise, it's just a shit show and we get
Otherwise, we get so like people are like, "That's not how you say it in Swedish," and I'm like, "Well, how the fuck am I supposed to know?"
We only
Damn.
pick stories with crazy
I'm
names.
sorry, I don't have a PhD in Swedish.
Oofda.
Yup,
Is that right?
nailed it.
UFF-DA.
UFF-DA.
Oofda.
Yeah.
Oofda.
All right, guys, I have a murder
Yes.
story.
Let's bring it.
Fuck yes.
Okay, so it's wine adjacent.
Oh my god.
So
I'll take it.
It was
sangria.
really hard to find. Yes. No, I did see one about like a barber who was like an alcoholic, and I was like, I'll do that in a future episode. But this one is the story of Richard and Nancy Lyon, who they were a couple in Connecticut. Who you can probably picture as being the classic Connecticut upper class family. They met at Harvard, and Nancy was from an upper class family that lived in the wealthiest neighborhood in Texas. And he came from kind of like a middle class family, so they kind of already had like an imbalance in their classes.
Okay.
Which
Yep.
only matters because he took it personally. But to
Of course. Fucking patriarchy.
Of course. So to everyone who knew them, so they got married. Everyone who knew them was like, they have the perfect marriage. They both have Ivy League degrees. They're like beautiful people. They have 2 daughters. Da da da.
It's meant to be.
It's meant to be. But Richard never felt like he fit in with Nancy's kind of like elite social family and her friend group. And they had moved back to Texas to like this really rich town that she's from. And so he always felt kind of like out of place. And her career, better yet, was taking off, and he was not progressing in his career as quickly as she was, which obviously is a
fault.
Sounds like
right?
my last relationship.
Handle your shit. Yeah, exactly. Amanda's like relating to this
Too
real
relatable.
hard.
Oh boy. Yeah, so she was working at a freaking law firm. It was called Trammell Crow, and she was getting all these promotions. But he was working a job, but it was stagnant, and he wasn't getting promoted like he wanted to, and wasn't making as much money as her. So he started getting jealous and frustrated.
And then he dumped her.
And then
told her he didn't love her for half of their
What's
relationship.
that?
Wait.
Well, so he
Made
did.
her put down his dog.
Well, he did
Demanded
Wait.
half of the security
You
deposit.
guys-
Oh my god.
Be nice to Richard. He did the obvious natural thing, which is that he found a young coworker named Tammy,
Oh, boy.
and decided to
No!
sleep with her.
Winker.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Okay. Here we go.
You know,
It's an episode of Maury
we
all of a
go.
sudden.
an episode of
Oh,
Maury.
man.
Yeah. So
You're triggering
fucking
Amanda.
Tammy's there now.
So hard.
Oh no,
Fucking
Amanda, have another
Tammy.
drink real quick
Was
before
barely
we continue.
dry on our separation, Richard. Let's just call him Dan. For
You know,
sake
the
of
nick-
rest of the
Yeah,
episode.
can his name just be Dan?
Just kidding. Let's not.
I mean, to be honest, like Richard isn't the nickname for Richard
Yeah.
Totally.
Dick anyway, so we
Totes.
can just use that.
Yeah.
As, yeah.
Dick.
Absolutely.
Dick.
Nailed it, guys.
Nailed it. So Dick fell into the loving arms of his
So this
coworker
Dick, yep.
Tammy.
Yep.
So this Dick and Tammy were in love, and they turned their one night stand into a full on affair. And when Nancy learned about the affair, obviously all hell broke loose. And instead of kind of coming back to her, Richard was like, "All right, I'm dating Tammy now," and just pieced out the day after Christmas. And
Merry Christmas.
yeah, literally left so the neighbor wrote like this full expose on like how she witnessed this whole progression, and she's like, and they shared a duplex together, and she's like, yeah, the day after Christmas the tree was on the curb already, and like he was packing a duffel
Kinda
bag
like
and just like got in
When
the
it
car and
happens
left.
2 days before Valentine's Day and the week of your 4-year anniversary. Isn't that crazy? How like how parallel?
But also,
kinda-
like,
kinda
this is
similar.
how you earn money as a neighbor, is by creeping on your neighbors and, like, selling that shit
Seriously.
to any news outlet. Like, God bless that neighbor.
It was pretty
Also-
incredible because she was like, yeah, I didn't really know them very well, and then like wrote this fucking 10-page article. And I was
And
like,
probably
wait a
got
second.
paid 10 grand.
I don't know much about
God
them,
bless
but
her.
here's everything.
Sure.
She does what she
But
needs
I watched
to do.
through their windows every
I love it.
afternoon.
That's me as a neighbor.
Yeah.
I don't know any of my neighbors, but I know about them.
You go through their trash every
For
day.
sure.
My neighbors, my mom went through a divorce a couple years ago, and so we're friends with our neighbors. We've grown up on the same block since I was 3. But I still tell myself that as neighbors, they don't know too much about what's going on. Like, it's a very surface relationship,
Don't
or so we
they?
try to keep it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but when she was going through the divorce, anytime a car that wasn't our car showed up at the driveway, there would be like 8 people knocking on our door, being like, "Who's in your house? What's going
my
on?"
God.
Like, they
Oh
like
my god.
like all of a sudden we realized how often they're looking at our house and are aware of what's
They're
going
like
on.
keeping track
Yeah.
of your movements.
Yeah, man.
Jesus.
It's fucked up.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, so basically, Nancy did not take it well for obvious reasons. She actually ended up dyeing her hair the same shade of blonde as Tammy.
Not the
I
best
know,
coping.
I know. She had a rough.
No.
She was trying to cook. She had a rough time. They had 2 little daughters, by the way. So they were she just like really had a hard time, and One day, soon after her husband moved out, Nancy opened the front door to find a bottle of wine left as a gift on her doorstep.
Nice. How sweet.
Oh.
Someone feeling bad for her.
Oh,
or she's
right.
getting poisoned.
A neighbor was keeping track of the cars and dropped off a bottle of wine.
Looks like you need this,
so
you little
Nancy-
tramp.
Man.
So Nancy was like, oh, I don't know who it's from, but I'm going to drink it. So she became temporarily but violently ill, spent the night vomiting on the bathroom
no.
floor.
It was some of that wine brick.
That,
Too much
Concentrated grape
yeast and
brick.
grape bricks. And so soon after that, weirdly enough, the house became infested with fire
Oh my
ants.
God.
Oh my.
Which becomes
Yuck.
relevant, I
Ew.
promise. But even if it's not relevant, it's pretty fucked up. So Richard started coming back to the house to help manage the infestation because she needed his help to do so. He helped her poison the ants, and then they started having sex again.
Uh-oh.
Because she was
it.
I know. She was undecided about what she wanted to do. He kind of started staying the night again, and she was like, I don't know if I want to take you back, blah, blah, blah. But this whole
don't
time...
dick the dick.
don't take
No,
the dick
never.
back.
It's never good
Yeah.
the second time around.
No.
Do it.
Never good.
No.
So she started getting really sick, and she didn't know if it was like stress or what, but eventually she wrote this letter saying like to Richard saying like, enough is enough, I'm done with the marriage, and then she filed for divorce in September of 1990.
Good girl.
Yeah. So she apparently that like really boosted her morale, and she like gained some weight back because she had lost a lot of weight and like kind of returned to her normal self. And then this neighbor that I was telling you about, of course her name's Gail.
Nosy ass
Gail, the nosy bitch.
Yeah.
Gail, typical Gail,
Classic
was
Gail.
at home one night and heard a knock on the door. And when her husband went to answer, they found Richard holding a baby monitor. And he basically said, like, can you watch the girls? Because Nancy's been vomiting for hours. I need to take her to the ER. So they were obviously like, okay, we'll,
Yep.
watch over the girls for the night. And then they heard Richard go back through the baby monitor and like go get Nancy, and all they heard was him say, I'm warming up the car, and then carried her downstairs and to the car. And then when they got to the hospital, Richard was like, oh, she has severe pain, she's been throwing up and has a severe headache. But the doctors were like, we don't know what the fuck is going on. So they diagnosed her with toxic shock syndrome, which I think is like
tampon
what you
disease.
get from tampons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Disease.
And she had like her OBGYN had given her some medication recently, so they were like, maybe that's what it is. So that's what they diagnosed her with, but it didn't really fit her symptoms. And then this doctor who becomes like basically a hero in this story, his name is Dr. Ali Bagheri, and he was her doctor. And when her husband Richard left the hospital, he lifted Nancy's oxygen mask so that she could speak, and she whispered to him that she had become violently ill after drinking foul-tasting wine that had been anonymously left on her front porch.
To which he was probably like, why did you
Yeah.
drink strange wine left at your door?
I would have drank it.
We all
I
have
would've
hit
drank it.
rock
Do not
bottom
victim blame the
and-
wine
Yeah.
receiving individuals in this story.
100% would've drank
because
it.
I have received wine from
Oh, yeah.
people, and who the fuck poisons
Yeah.
it? That's just fucking evil. Sorry.
Okay,
Amanda
fair. Sorry,
gets
I apologize.
wine from random wine
Always.
and crime fans like every
I'm still
fucking
alive.
week, and we appreciate it.
And we're still alive.
And
Can't
she
take
drinks
me
all
down.
of it.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So she mentioned that, and then she also told the doctor that Richard had they went to the movies at one point after they had separated, and he bought her a soda, and she noticed a white powdery film on top of the soda and
Nope.
said it tasted awful. And then apparently he got really pissed off when she said she didn't want to drink it, and was like, no, you have to drink it because I paid for it, even though it had this nasty film on it.
Oh, he's a head pusher.
Yep.
We all know it.
He's a head pusher.
Fuck.
Richard, you
Yeah.
dick.
What an ass.
Yep. You fucking piece of
Yeah.
shit.
Classic
Yeah.
dick. So he also gave her a lot of vitamins, according to the housekeeper. They were
Nope.
large pills that he claimed were vitamins that he forced her to take. And then she also told the doctor that she was afraid of her husband. And then he said, I remember the words she said to me last. It was really sad. She said, please help me, don't let me die.
Oh my God.
And very dark. And then within 24 hours, she was in a coma, unresponsive. And Richard produced this document that basically said, like, do not resuscitate me.
No.
And, like,
Oh my God.
it was like written in her quote unquote handwriting.
Oh my God.
And they were like, we don't know about this.
Fucking Helvetica knew.
Yeah, exactly.
Her literal dying
Comic
words
Sans.
were essentially, my husband has poisoned me. And they're like, well, he produced this document, so.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's in Comic Sans. It looks pretty friendly. Yeah.
Papyrus.
So the doctor, she was in a coma, and then a couple days later, she passed away. Unfortunately, she did not survive. And her doctors were like, we need to make a thorough autopsy because this guy, Dr. Bagari, was like, something fishy is going on. So they also called the police and got them involved. And then then things took a turn. Talk about M. Night Shyamalan. Investigators learned that she was also about to testify against her former boss from the law firm I mentioned. Because he had been like embezzling money big time. And they found a letter from her boss in her possessions that said, stay out of the Bagwell case or you and your family will face the wrath of God.
Oh shit.
you do not want to fuck with God.
Grapes of Wrath.
The grapes of wrath of God.
Oh my God.
Wrath of Dick.
So the wrath
I
of
hate
Dick.
all of this so much.
Oh my God. That could be
Yeah.
a porno.
That could be that's probably
I'm
a
writing
porno.
it right now, so stay tuned.
Yeah, write that down.
She's writing the script for the
but so-
Wrath of Dick.
Yep. The grapes of wrath of Dick.
I'm into it. So they went back to the autopsy. They didn't find any like illness or disease in her organs. Like she wasn't sick. But the toxicology report found that her body contained 100 times the lethal amount of arsenic.
Well,
That-
there
How
you
much?
have
How
it.
much?
So there it
please?
is. So her death
Thanks,
was
Em.
ruled a
Em.
homicide, obviously.
Only one who
I got you.
I don't get
I didn't hear
it.
you.
Did I miss the joke?
Arsenic and
Old
lace.
place.
Oh, I don't know that play.
It's a play.
You people.
Oh, okay.
It's a good one.
I'm not very cultured about plays.
I'm so cultured,
I
guys.
is my
I am so
Unbelievable.
cultured.
Between ghosts and milkshakes and plays, I have got it covered.
This is why we're dating.
It's great to have a trivia night.
This is why we're dating. Oh, yeah.
We'll go see Arsenic and Old Lace together.
Upset the
Oh, it'll be
girlfriend.
great. Okay, baba baba bop, beep boop bop. Where are we? Oh, so they found this receipt in her belongings for arsenic. So apparently, she had bought arsenic herself to kill a colony of fire ants that had been infesting her home.
Damn.
Remember the ants? Who could forget?
Who could
It
forget
all
the
circles
ants?
back.
So there was also one thought that she was maybe making, this is fucked up, she was maybe making herself sick on purpose to get her husband's attention.
Oh my God.
Oh, fucking patriarchy.
And I watched the Forensic Files episode on this, and the homicide
Yes.
detectives were like,
No.
they literally said, that is the most ludicrous thing I've
Yep.
ever heard. And we're like, fuck
No way.
that. But that was the
Yep.
defense being like, oh, maybe that's why she
So
did it.
stupid.
Fuck all y'all.
So fucked
Yep.
up. And then, you guys, another twist. Detectives found her diary, and guess what? Turns out she and her older brother, Bill, had apparently had an incestuous relationship when they were children.
Just when I thought this story
And-
couldn't get better, cue incest.
She basically wrote in her diary like she was afraid of him and his like sick sex tendencies
my
and was
God.
worried that he would target her daughters.
Oh my God.
Baby.
And
Well,
it's
it was
so
abuse
fucked up.
then,
Yeah.
right?
And so
I mean, it was abuse.
I'm trying to find, where is it? Baby Bop. Oh, and so according to Richard on Memorial Day in 1989, so he like explained this journal entry and was like, oh, we actually visited a detox center and Nancy had arranged to see a sex therapist where she confided in Richard why she was having such sexual intimacy problems. And it turns out that she and her brother had had an incestuous relationship. And Richard was so shocked and disturbed by this that he refused to have sex with her for many months. And so then investigators were like, well, maybe Bill, the brother, has something to do with this. But her whole family was saying, like, no, this is a lie. It's not true. Like, this is all, made up, whatever. So there were just like a lot of possible angles to look at this. And they were all very extremely horrible.
Yes.
Oh,
But
okay.
they immediately ruled out suicide. They were like, arsenic is not a good, like, nobody kills themselves by, like, slow arsenic
That's how you
death.
want to die.
No.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a thing.
No.
And a lot of people, that's what the defense was saying. Like, well, maybe she did it on purpose. And it was like, okay, sure thing.
No.
Burning
Me
yourself
too.
alive would be better. Preferable.
Why? Yeah, exactly. And actually, I found a fun fact out about arsenic. I don't know if you guys know this, but when you ingest it, it attaches itself to your hair follicles. And so as your hair grows, you can kind of, like, they can track how long you've been consuming arsenic based on, like, how far into your hair.
It's like counting the rings in a tree.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
cool.
the rings of arsenic in your hair. Yep, exactly. And it's like a permanent
That feels
record.
like it's going to be its own episode.
Arsenic
on our
hair
show.
and adding it to the
Arsenic hair.
list.
Yep.
It's so interesting. It's
Literally
so interesting,
adding
guys.
it to the list.
What is it?
Oofda.
Oofda.
That calls for oofda.
That for sure.
That's a ring, ring, ring. Who could it be? Oofda.
Oh my God, I love it so much. I love it so much.
It really, it's so fucked up. So they like went and looked through her hair and they basically cut it into 2-week periods, her like hair. And then we're able to like find the time that she started taking arsenic, which was 4 months before her death.
Oofda.
That forensic is so fucking cool, though.
And then 4 weeks before her death, the dose increased significantly, which is when Richard
shit.
started living at home again.
Ah, I see.
So very, very interesting.
Curious.
So the diary entries that I mentioned about the brother, they sent the handwriting to a forensic document examiner whose name was obviously Hartford
Boy.
Kittle.
Why wouldn't it be?
You know, as it
Oh
would
my
be.
God.
And he decided to look through. So they were like, please, like, tell us if this is a legitimate diary entry. Turns out Nancy's handwriting is extremely similar to Richard's handwriting in her diary.
Weird.
Yep. And her friends were like, well, I don't know. Like, she used to write, this is, of course, classic Dick. She used to write his research papers when they were at Harvard together. So she learned to copy his handwriting. So
man.
that was the argument used. Like, oh, no, they just have really similar handwriting because she did all his homework at Harvard.
Because he's been a dick since college.
God
Yep.
That.
damn it.
Honestly, charge him on that alone.
Patriarchy.
Get the fuck out of here.
That's the real offense. This is a whole nother offense, in my opinion. Yes.
Thing.
What a fucking
Yeah, that
douchebag.
shit's crazy.
So
God damn it.
he was like obviously having issues that, you know, his wife had to do his homework and et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
So then when they looked at their handwriting, they were like, he used the ampersand and she used the ampersand and he would write out the word and they wrote their fucking capital I's differently. So she would put like lines on the top and bottom and he didn't. So they were like, so the handwriting expert named Hartford, he concluded that Richard had written the diary entries about Nancy's brother Bill being like having incestuous relationship with her. So
Shocker.
I know.
Shocker.
So it was all fucking made up by this dude, by her fucking husband, even though it like tore her family apart. It was so fucked up.
Fucking perv.
So yeah, so they were like, oh my God, he created this whole diary to cover up the murder. But Richard himself took the stand for his own defense, as you know, all innocent people do.
They always
And,
think that's a good idea, and it's not a good idea.
They do. It never
No.
fucking works. I don't understand.
I feel like this happens
It's
way
like
too
a
often.
Like a total-
sociopath. I feel like it's like they're narcissistic and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
I can do it. Yeah,
It's
fuckers.
a total Ted Bundy move.
Yes,
It's ridiculous.
exactly. So he he produced this receipt from a Dallas chemical company that showed that Nancy had signed for a delivery of arsenic for her fire ant infestation. And they're like, oh, maybe she did take her own life. And apparently they interviewed the jury after he produced that evidence and after he had represented himself. And the jury was actually favorably on his side. And they were like, you know what? Like, it doesn't seem like he did it. But then talk about this is the third M. Night Shyamalan twist.
No!
Yes. So the fucking handwriting expert dude showed up and he was like, you know what? We went to this chemical company and they were like, someone copy and pasted this order onto a receipt and faked the signature.
Oh, no.
And actually, it turns out Richard had bought the arsenic and had it shipped to his house. To his office and had the receptionist sign for it. And
Jeez.
she didn't buy arsenic at all. And that was like the big turning point because they were like, well, she bought the arsenic herself. Like she knew it was in the house. But actually, he fucking created a fake receipt to be like, oh, she bought it. But like he had it ordered to his own house and started putting it in her fucking vitamins.
Oh, boy.
That fucking asshole.
What an
God damn
asshole.
it.
And then like in a bottle of wine, like that's just cruel and unusual.
Like, he
that's-
knew she'd take the bait.
Yeah, that's like the meanest, cruelest thing. It's like you can't blame anyone but this asshole for that. And so Nancy, so they confiscated all the pills, like the quote unquote vitamins, and it turns out some of them had barium carbonate, which is a chemical that's used in the production of glass.
It's so
good.
cruel.
So that's what he was feeding his wife. And so So the motive that they used was that money. So like he would get a $500,000 life insurance policy if she died, obviously, and then, be able to run off with Tammy. And so he was basically, hold on, a bit about money.
Did you hear that, guys? That was the most important fact of this whole story. I hope you heard it.
Oh my god.
My lovely noises. So they trace the shit back all the way, the barium carbonate, which is like the glass ingredient. They traced it all the way back to the bottle of wine left on her doorstep. And they found out that when that didn't kill her, so he gave her that bottle intending to kill her with that bottle of wine. And when that didn't kill her, he decided to switch to arsenic and had the arsenic mailed to his office and started putting small doses of that in her food and pills until she got sick enough that she went into a coma and died. And so, like, as I said, when he started living with her again, the arsenic levels in her body, like, dramatically increased because he just started putting it in everything. And since he would get the life insurance money and be able to live with Terry, it just made sense that he was obviously the culprit. And when the jury deliberated, it took them less than 3 hours. They convicted him of first-degree murder, and he was sentenced to life in prison. He's still there, even though there is a website called, like, Richard Lyon Didn't Do It.
Oh, my God.
By Richard Lyon's family.
Fuck all of y'all.
And I read it, and I was like, none of this is, because I was like, okay, I'll read it. None of it was even, like, remotely convincing.
Of our time.
Right,
Yes.
exactly.
It was like he's applied to every like appeal, those like new podcasts and stuff. Like he's applied to every single one that could potentially free him, and none of them have responded. And I'm like, that's because he's guilty. God.
Yep. We covered a case early on in our Genesis, and it was a case of a deer fucker named Brian Hathaway from Wisconsin. And there's a website. He is a man who fucks
there's not
deer.
much more backstory.
Oh my God.
for that.
What the fuck? I did not hear that
He
episode.
also
I would remember
fucked a
that.
horse. It was our first episode ever. Was the necrophilia episode.
Oh yeah, I think I
And-
purposefully didn't listen to
Fair
that episode. I was like, I don't know if I can do it. Clearly.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So anyway, there's a website called freebrianhathaway.com.
Shut the fuck up.
And
What is
yeah, it's
what
like
is wrong with people?
I I can't answer that
He
question.
has two.
It'll take like
I guess everybody can find a fan
separate
here or there.
fucking
it'll
convictions.
take like 10 more crossover episodes for us to figure out what the fuck is wrong with people. So it's not worth it.
All right, this is step one. We'll
Yeah,
meet again next week and work on the
next year when we get our schedules
Installment.
Every year for 10 years we'll do this.
1,000%.
every year for 10 years, and then maybe we'll probably never come to a solution, to be honest.
No.
Good.
No.
Excellent.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. We're all going to be at CrimeCon, by the way, everybody.
Woo!
Yes, we'll actually get to meet each other.
We're going to hang out at the
I can't wait.
Valentine
I'm so
on the
excited.
evening of the 5th.
And guess what? We're also having meetups across the street from one another, which is something I realized.
I love it.
I know one of our mods set up a meetup on Broadway in Nashville, and then I Google mapped where your guys' was, and it's literally like 0.01 miles
across the
away. I
street.
was like, holy
We'll walk
shit.
across.
We'll just do pub crawls to both of our places.
We'll pop
Yes,
into each
we will
other's.
go
We'll
back
be
and forth.
dirndls, so there's that.
You can leave from your building and we'll leave from our building and we'll like a Newsies
Block
kind
off
of
the
thing. Like
street.
kind of just get closer and closer.
And then we have to do
Yeah.
a West Side Story in the street snap off.
Yes.
Well, obviously.
You
Which
heard
one
it.
of us are the Jets?
Obviously.
All right, we're sharks. Sorry, you're
All
Jets.
Oops,
Yep,
too
we
late.
chose for you. Bye. Sorry.
Bye. I'm sorry.
Well, thank you guys for coming on. It means a lot that we were able to finally get this all together.
I'm so
best.
pumped for
We're
this
so
episode.
happy.
And you guys, go check out our we were on their show, which was a fucking blast. Check out Wine and Crime. You guys are on every platform and
Yep.
are a whole lot of fun. And they cover things like horse fuckers or whatever.
yeah.
whatever.
and only that,
Yeah.
actually.
It's just about
We're
that.
not here to judge. We're just here to report and also judge.
Yes.
They are very impartial. They have no opinions on anything, especially the patriarchy. And
Yeah.
Well, luckily we're going to be meeting. That means we'll be meeting you in like 3
Isn't
weeks.
this crazy?
oh my god, I'm so
Yeah.
excited! Less than a month.
So excited.
Shit's cray.
All right. Well,
Thank you so much for having
We
us.
love
We're so
you.
happy.
Thank you guys. We love you more. This was so much fun.
and that's why we drink.
Oh yeah, and that's why we
Until
drink.
we meet again.
Mwah.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Hey, true crime fans. Have you listened to Wine and Crime yet?
We're a true crime comedy podcast hosted by three childhood friends who chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash our worst Minnesotan accents.
Each week, us gals pick a true crime topic and pair it with a delicious wine before delving into the background and psychology behind the crime.
Then we share and speculate wildly about a couple of bonkers cases related to the topic.
Past episodes include necrophilia, cults, crimes of passion, cruise ship disappearances, exorcisms gone wrong, all this over a bottle of wine, or, let's be real, 3.
Listen anywhere you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Wine and Crime Pod, and check out our website and blog at wineandcrimepodcast.com.
Cheers!